You're listening to the Awaken Radio Network. Visit the station's website at www.awakenradio.net. Our navigation links are located at the top of the page under the banner. Visit our forums to converse with our hosts. See who our guests will be on the interview page. You can join in the conversations on a live chat room page. Thank you for listening to Awaken Radio Network. Awaken Radio Network is a radio station focused on reminding you how powerful you are. Our hosts share on self-healing, politics, UFOs, spiritual awakening, and everything in between. Join us in the chat room at awakenradio.net or listen on your mobile device through tunein.com. Awaken Radio Network is brought to you by our advertisers, sponsors, hosts, and listeners like you. Shop at our on-site store and make donations to the station. Visit awakenradio.net to chat, shop, and donate. Thank you for keeping the energy flowing and the growth going.
Welcome to Your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, and happy holidays to everyone celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or any other that I missed. And last week we talked about rituals, clearing, dreams, and picking stones. This week I'd like to focus on how we can be better listeners, not only in our daily relationships, but just in listening to the world in general. And as an exercise, since last week we tried to guess, using our intuition, someplace that I'd picked out by just feeling. Tonight I'd like you to guess what I picked out just on hearing. So connect with your hearing, and again, don't be dismissive of anything. If you get any kind of sensation, you might post it in the chat room. If you're in chat, you can say, I think I hear such and such. And if you're close, I'll say, you're close. You can call in and make a guess too. So our connection numbers and such are 334-649-7204, or through Skype you can connect to Awakened Radio, or connect to the live chat tab by going to awakenedradio.net. And tonight we're picking up on sounds, some physical sounds, hearing in your head, or maybe you think you hear something. It's picking up on sound sensations, not sights, but sounds. So if you're guessing seagulls, you might say, I think I hear the cawing of gulls, or whatever sound they make. I'm not sure. But seagulls is not the correct guess. So anyway, that's how you might say it. I think I hear the sound of seagulls, but no, that's not a correct guess. To begin the show, I have a quote from Mark Nepo, and he says, is it possible that with each inhalation we take in the world and awaken our soul? And with each exhalation do we free ourselves of the world which inevitably entangles us? Is this how we fill up and empty 100 times a day, always seeking the gift of 2 breaths? Perhaps this is the work of being. So not only are you connecting to your listening, you're paying attention to yourself, how you feel in each breath, and what each breath is bringing you. Ingrid in the chat room guesses flugelhorn, and that's pretty close. I'm not sure of the spelling either, Ingrid, but think bigger. So I guess flugelhorn could be part of what I've got up on my desktop. Keep thinking bigger. I don't think it's foghorn. I think she meant to say something like flugelhorn. Anyway, let's move to our opening meditation to connect with our intuition. Closing your eyes and breathing in and breathing out, releasing any stress from the day and leaving this behind for now. So gently breathing in and out, letting go of the stress, connecting more with yourself, more with your inner serenity, and feeling energized by any recent success, no matter how large or small, and allow this to resonate within you. Continuing to gently breathe, releasing the stress, feeling energized by anything good or anything successful. And with each breath, feeling gratitude for the day itself, releasing any thoughts that come up, keeping them in mind, but not letting yourself get tangled up in them. Gently connecting with a sense of calm, peace, serenity. Allow this peace to fill your body, helping you to feel centered and grounded and feeling connected to the land, space around you. Breathing in a feeling of safety and protection for yourself, friends, family, and the world. Breathe in a feeling of connectedness and feel connected to all of those on a similar path. Feel your heart, mind, spirit, body connected to these others. See and feel a web of connectivity that connects us all. Know that we all share similar goals of bringing wholeness and healing to ourselves, our families, and our communities, and the world. Knowing that as we all deepen into the wisdom of our hearts, bodies, and minds, we can begin to help others to do the same and open to compassion and ignite interest and passion in others. Allow yourself a moment to feel serene in this space of connectedness and unity. Enjoy this feeling and know that the space is always available. And continue gently breathing, and when you're ready, slowly reconnect to your body sitting in the room, slowly opening your eyes and taking a few more deep breaths and recognizing the compassion, the serenity, and the passion within yourself. And when you're ready, coming back to us. And if you've guessed, connected with your intuition through this meditation, and you made a guess about some sort of musical instrument, like Ingrid in the chat room, who guessed tuba, yes, that's correct. And I meant think larger space, think bigger. So not just a tuba, not just a fluke horn, but some larger space. So you're close. Think gathering. And Donna guesses orchestra, and yes, I have a picture of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra up on my desktop. I'll pick another one for the break. And if you are seeing instruments or hearing instruments, as I was suggesting hearing them, then you did a good job. Continue to connect in with your intuition. And Ingrid says, I guess she should have said orchestra. So go with your instincts. Don't be, as I said before, don't be dismissive of anything, and see where your intuition leads. And again, never be dismissive of anything. Just note what you see, sense, or feel, and see how that plays out later in life. And if you have a journal, which is really beneficial, you can record how those thoughts, insights, and feelings were appropriate to the final conclusion. And Ingrid says, "Aw shucks, I was seeing the orchestra, but I thought it was one instrument, and I had mentioned to think bigger, not just one instrument, but larger than that, a bigger space." So, as I'm saying here, Don't be dismissive. Take note of everything that you see, sense, and hear. And after the break, when we come back, I'll have another sensory hearing experience that we can work with. But this week, we're really focusing on listening. And of course, and Ingrid mentions great intuition exercise. Thank you, Ingrid. So in listening to your intuition it can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. It really means getting out of your own way. And it's just like seeing things, but everyone has the capacity, and you're not always going to see things. You might hear them, you might feel them, you might sense them, you might get a dream about them. We've talked about the different types of sensory ways of receiving information in the past, and listening is one way. And it might not just be out in the real world, it might be that you're hearing things in your head. So it really involves getting out of your own way and clearing whatever normally blocks this. This could be ourselves, this could be the clutter in our lives, whatever it is. It's finding a way to clear it and making space for something new. Now, of course, meditation can help, but we might all not be able to go sit under a tree or feel comfortable doing that, especially if you work in an office. You might not want to be seen as one of those people, whatever that means. So it doesn't have to be that way. It can be simply becoming more conscious of what you're seeing and hearing. And Ingrid mentions that she heard the tuba as if it was in her right ear. So you're not always going to hear it in both ears or one particular ear, but take notice of where your strength is. So for her, it might be that she hears better intuitively through the right ear. For others, it might be that they have better guesses through seeing, so they might have better sight vision. So pay attention to that. And it's not about making it a struggle. It's about, yes, making it fun. So back to the listening. Listening might mean letting go. So it might mean shredding all those old papers, cleaning up the cellar, giving away clothes that are too old, big or small, selling or donating unused items. And something that I found out, I think last week, by I forget her name, but she's on the Today Show, and she started a Twitter hashtag called 26 Acts, which is 26 Acts of Kindness. I think it's Ann Curry, during January. So you might clear away this clutter that you're not using and donate it, a little bit of it each day, or maybe all at once, as an act of kindness. Now we're in January to start clearing away some of this old clutter. And I've been cleaning up some of my own stuff that I'm going to be donating. And also, letting go might be reevaluating your opinions of your own identity. So, letting go of how you think of yourselves. We think of other people as psychic or intuitive, and then we say, well, we're not that. But we all have intuitive sensing gifts. And we don't have to see the world as us versus them or black and white. It's a variety of colors and sounds and tunes, and it's being able to connect with all of that and staying open to new possibilities. So listening might start with an urge to do something as you connect with the sounds and sensations. So it might start with art. It might start simply by listening to music. You might get an urge to do something. And that might be, well, after listening to Bach or Beethoven or whatever your favorite music is that really helps you to listen. I mean, not listen, but to release tension and enjoy yourself. It might be to go and paint something or create something in some way. And normally you dismiss that urge, but now I'm urging you to go do that. You don't have to make something that's equal to the Sistine Chapel. It just could be something simple that's expressive and it connects with how you feel in the moment. So pick up that paintbrush or pencil and work on a mandala. That may help you to open to something new and bring something new into your life. And that's where the answers come from, is being willing to connect the dots. So all of a sudden you get an urge to go out and get a cup of coffee. Well, go do that. You might meet someone on the way that you might not have met. It's simply connecting to what you're curious about and pursuing it and connecting with your intuition in a new and fun way and seeing what synchronicities are out there. I think on one of the first shows I mentioned how I simply put a question to the universe and asked about taking part in a really long class. It was like 3 or 4 months. We'd meet once a week, and it was about speaking from your heart. And I went to the movies, and there were these heart pins with lions on them, and I bought one as a sign that was my answer. Yes, indeed, you should take part in this class. So, back to the listening. Most people's minds tend to wander, and that's okay, but when you're in a conversation with someone, that can be problematic because then they'll ask, well, what did I say? And now you're trying to catch up when you were on Planet 9. Active listening isn't about that, and to prevent that, you should probably check your focus periodically and try to make focus a habit. And that really not only helps you to connect with the person you're in conversation with as being a good listener, it helps you connect to your intuition because now you're dismissing less things. Hopefully you're taking everything in. So you might turn off all the background noise when you're in a conversation. Radio, telephone, TV, whatever else, video game, turn it all off. Stay focused where you are and be there. And a lot of times, if you're in an intimate relationship, taking notes might not be a good idea, but if you're in the office, that might be a very good idea. So it makes you look like you are an active listener, and it helps you concentrate better. So take notes and listen to the viewpoint of the other person and try to step away from the judgment. And if you're trying to come to your own conclusion, it might help to restate what they said so that they feel heard and you could come up with a way that you can respond back. It gives you a few minutes, few seconds to adequately come up with something that you feel is helpful to the conversation. And it's not necessarily intended to change your perspective, but it's going to help you get greater appreciation for the viewpoints and positions of other people. So it's really saying, wow, this person may think differently than I do, but I value their viewpoint. Now, last night it was very windy here, so I spent some time just listening to the wind. And that can be very clearing, and I started to think about going inside because it was kind of cold, but that wasn't really my main focus. Was to be where I was in the moment and to just listen. And the winds were pretty close to 30 miles an hour, maybe more. And again tonight they're pretty windy. So it's just connecting with the wind and listening to see if you hear anything on the wind. And maybe you will, maybe you won't. What came to me was the Three Little Pigs poem that I still have to reread. I haven't read it in a while, but it connected me with that, and I was thinking about that poem. And what I also connected with was Tonglen, because I began to think about the people outside We don't have anywhere to go. So I started to breathe in their discomfort and then breathe out safety and hope for them. And you might do that for yourself. Start out by doing that for yourself and then reaching out and doing that for them as well. And that can help to bring more of that safety into the world. Now for some Q&A. I had someone ask me this week, how can I live or be able to live more in the moment? And they mentioned that Zen really isn't for them. And I mentioned that just practicing overall awareness, like noticing where you are, saying to yourself, I'm in the office, I'm crossing the street, I'm eating lunch, and just paying attention to where you are in the present moment, maybe noting your emotions, but not making this robotic, making it so that you're connecting more to your humanness and more to yourself as a whole person. It's listening to yourself. We're listening to ourselves, we're listening to other people, we're listening to our intuition, we're becoming better listeners. And part of this is about becoming a better witness. People want to witness the other people in your life, that is, to be seen, to be met. And I guess that's what you want too. Now, you can call into the show at 334-649-7204 or join us on Skype by connecting to Awakened Radio or coming to awakenedradio.net and joining us in the chat room. So, really, listening is helping you to be a witness to others so they feel witnessed, and you're bringing the witness into the room so that there's space for whatever needs to come forward. It's kind of a give and take of compassion. And you might ask yourself how you can be a witness, and are you ready to be a witness? Because it really requires, obviously, the compassion and ability to be present. Now, if we're talking about listening, I think music is a very important thing to pursue. So I was looking this week for some new research around music therapy, and I'll provide this link in the forums after the show. But Walter Reed National Military Center in Bethesda is doing some research around seeing if playing an instrument can improve a lot of the soldiers' brain power, so it gives them better focus and better concentration abilities. It's a small study, but it seems like it's definitely helping. And of course, I've talked about James Pennebaker before, who talked about writing, which isn't really music, but still it's a function of healing and getting the spoken word out. That, along with poetry, again, can be very healing, can help to decrease stress, lower blood pressure, and help your mood in the long term. It's really about connecting more to yourself, listening to what's inside instead of turning away and dismissing your thoughts inside. It's actually paying attention and listening to yourself. Yes, you can listen to other people, but when do you take time to listen to yourself? When do you listen to your dreams? When do you listen to your emotions? It's sitting down and journaling about it or writing a poem. Even back during the whatchamacallit, I want to say ancient times, I guess that's close enough. The priest at Delphi would come up with poetry for healing for people and have them recite it. Now, the priest would, I guess, go to the gods and then come back and ask for extra money and then give the poem to the needy person. And they didn't consider illness to be separate from spiritual influences, so they found the healing within the poetry. I guess I have a favorite poem by Mary Oliver and another one by Rumi that I'll read when we get back. But for now, I'll give you the call number since we have about 5 minutes. Call in at 334-649-7204 or connect to Skype at Awakened Radio, or of course join us at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab. And if you have any questions about music or intuition around hearing and listening or dreams that relate to this, please give us a call and we'll talk about it when the show comes back. For now, I have a quote from Hermann Hesse that I'll share. He says, "In its origin, a poem is something completely unequivocal. It is a discharge, a call, a cry, a sigh, a gesture, a reaction by which the living soul seeks to defend itself from or to become aware of an emotion or experience. In this first spontaneous, most important function, no poem can be judged. It speaks, first of all, simply of the poet himself. And it is his cry, his dream, his scream, his smile, his whirling fists. Who would try to judge people's nighttime dreams by their aesthetic value or our movements of hand and head, our expressions and way of walking by their expediency? The babe in arms that puts its thumb or toe in its mouth behaves just as intelligently and properly as the author who gnaws his pen holder or the peacock that spreads its fans. No one of them does better than the others. No one is more right than the rest." And that's Hermann Hesse speaking about working with poetry. We're about, I guess, a minute or two to break. So again, you can connect to us at awakenradio.net and join us in the chat room or call us 334-649-7204 or connect to Skype at Awakened Radio. And we'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net. Join us to take part in our live chat room, our forum. Check out who's going to be interviewed next on our interviews page. AwakenedRadio.net is brought to you in part by TheBarefootGuru.com. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today to find out how you can take part in the Creative Playground Mastermind Group. You will learn how to be awake, aware, alert, and to create consciously the life that you really do want to experience. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today. AwakenedRadio.net is brought to you by you, the listeners, those of you who tune in and listen to us, who take part in our broadcast, who join us on our website to chat with us and interact with us. Those of you who also shop our Awakened store and help us stay on the air and stay growing. You can also support our station by visiting awakenedradio.net and clicking on the donate button. Your love gifts help us to keep the station up and growing strong. Thank you for being part of Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net. Awakened Radio, your people-powered radio station. Join us today at awakenedradio.net. Tell all your friends. Join us in the chat room. Look forward to talking with you there.
Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. Welcome back. Now, you can call in via Skype at Awakened Radio or dial 334-649-7204. Now, I placed the links to the various topics that I talk about in the forum, so you can reply there and ask questions. And I have my Twitter and Facebook links in there as well, and the various links to topics that I've talked about in the past. And I'll have tonight's show links in there as well. So please go to the forum and reply if you have any questions to my shows. Now, I talked about connecting with your intuition via listening at the top of the show, and we talked about connecting to others via listening and ourselves, and looking at the spoken word, sound, music, all as very healing aspects of connecting to our intuition. At the beginning of the show, we had an exercise where we connected via hearing in our heads or via something that we sensed via hearing, not via seeing. Something that I was challenging you to guess what it was, and it was the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. Now I've got another picture up on my desktop, and this time it's a different scene. So come up with a guess and say, I think I'm hearing such and such. And in the chat room, you might ask for a hint, and I'll say, yes, that's what I was talking about. And I guess I have a caller. Hello?
Hi there, this is Justin.
Hi, Justin. How are you tonight?
Well, enjoying a very wonderful, quiet evening here in California. Generally doing well. All the animals are quiet, and just taking this moment to call and say hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Generally fine. It's been a very busy day.
That's good. Do you have a question for me?
Well, yes. Is there an area that you feel most comfortable speaking about, or in the world of intuition, or is there, I could say love, life, and health, and that kind of covers everything. I would love any input you have for myself for the upcoming year, either in the next month or so, or even for the whole year, or anything in between.
Well, I pretty much focus on everything. Whatever is important in the moment. Tonight we're talking about being a good listener. And what I get for you is you were asking about 2013. Are you interested career-wise?
Why, yes. Let's go with that. Let's go with career. Let's roll those dice and see what comes up.
Maybe more avocational, something that you're looking to branch out with?
Well, I do so many different things. I would be open to any insights or input that you have or suggestions that you see that might, best serve my gifts.
Your gifts. Now, have you ever done a life path reading where you work with your life path number?
I've heard of that, but no, I never have.
We can do that because 2013 really does involves a lot around compassion and family life. It's paying attention to yourself and your needs, and then being able to be available for your family and friends, and not hiding from them, but showing up and being present. And that may require compassion on your part for them, or maybe for yourself, on how difficult that is. But for some people, it can be very, very easy. So any kind of personal support around your avocation might first come from you, and then more slowly from them. Does that make sense?
Well, what I'm hearing you describe is that putting my own best efforts forward, and then have and then based on what I put into the relationships, whether it be family or business, and that will return from them. I think I hear what you're saying is that would reflect back. My own actions are going to be direct reflection of what my experience is. Or I should say my own experience would be the direct reflection of my actions.
Well, it's less about what they can give you and more about just being there for them.
Yes.
So whether you notice that reflecting back or not is really secondary to the doing of it. More.
Well, I will say this, that is actually really close to what I was feeling this holiday season, and that for so many people, economics are what they are, and to, what gift ultimately can I give, and that would be my presence to them, or to spend time with family. And it felt really nice to be down at my in-laws, and basically we all took naps. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. Now, to pick up from that thread, I talked briefly about a practice called Tonglen tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is, if you've ever read anything by Pema Chodron, who's a Buddhist nun, it's breathing in something that's painful, like discomfort, and then breathing out something that's joyful, like release. Start with yourself, and you breathe it in and transform it, and then you breathe out basically breathing in the bad and releasing the good, whatever that boils down to for you. So
well, I was going to say is that I actually had a friend of mine give me one of her, to give you an idea of how old this was, it was a cassette of her of doing that process years and years ago, and that cassette has been lost to time. However, I do remember doing that process and it being very, very enlightening, or actually feeling much lighter by the end of a journey, because I was listening to that on a trip and just breathing in, breathing out, and I had several hours in the car to do that. It was really, really amazing. I must have played that tape 2 or 3 times.
Well, I really recommend that process, especially now, since the numerological theme for 2012 was really opening to our own inner mysteries, which would involve some of that work, especially around Tonglen. And then that helps to branch into the 2013, as I was mentioning, which is really more about connecting to family. So knowing yourself and doing what you can do to connect with your family.
Interesting. Oh, very good.
Now, if you have any more questions, I guess you can contact me in the forum, or connect to my webpage and email me, or join my email list. There's lots of ways to connect with me, so if you have any more further questions, I'll be happy to connect with you and talk with you more on Twitter or Facebook or wherever.
Well, with that said, what is your website?
Well, I have links in the forum here.
Okay.
You didn't come in through the webpage. You're not in the chat.
I did. I'm scrolling up right now.
Okay. In the forum, I have a post to my various shows, but you can go to blog.simplynumbers.com, or you can connect with me on Twitter at NumbersByRob or AwakenedRob. And I have links to my Facebook pages and such, so it's pretty easy to contact with me, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook pretty regularly. So feel free to like me or friend me on Facebook or Twitter and connect with me that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Okay. Now, I haven't been checking the chat room, but has anyone made a guess as to the second clue that I was talking about? And have you heard any noises that are particular to this new location that I've chosen? And I don't think I see any. So I guess I'll give you a hint. It's about listening to your intuition. So the last place was inside, and now this place is more of an outside venue. So any sights or sounds, well, we're talking about sounds, so any sounds that you hear, try to build them into a sort of tapestry of where this place is that I have on my screen. And if you have a question, like Justin just had, then please feel free to call in. And we were talking about poetry. No, it's not Woodstock. But what do you hear? What are the sounds around Woodstock that you hear? They may be pertinent to this new space. So people in the chat room have guessed Woodstock, but it's not that. In the meantime, I have some good poetry and listening exercises. So the first one is a short and simple exercise around poetry, is to go out into the newspaper or a book that you're reading and write down 5 words or 10 words that you notice, and then take those and compose them into a poem and see where that takes you. It might seem strange or silly at first, but it might, as I've said before, it might lead you somewhere new. It might lead you to a deeper interest in poetry, for one. So try that as a fun exercise around poetry and healing and listening to what's inside. You might be surprised to how pertinent this poem actually is to some real world event that you're dealing with in the present moment. The next exercise around poetry is to go back to music and listen to your favorite music for relaxing. I'm not talking about, well, maybe you can relax to Jay Giles or The Doors or something. I don't know, but more classical, something more vocal kind of music that helps you relax and release stress, and see how the music and the images and the words guide you, and trust that as you're tuning into the music and listening, that you'll connect with a variety of images, almost like a dream, and just let it go. Don't write it all down until after the experience, but notice what the music, I guess, calls up, and see what's being stimulated, what images are coming up, what memories. See what it wakes up in you. Do you feel bored? Then probably this isn't the music for you. Then you might question, like, if you could play an instrument, what would that be? And see where the music actually takes you. And when you're done listening, you can, like the first exercise, take the words and the sounds and the sensations that you experienced and put that into a poem and see what happens there, see how that's related to a current event. Now, something else that you might try is kind of a deep sound meditation where you're simply lying on the ground, not too close to your speakers. You'll know if you're too close. If you think you're too close, you're too close. And you want the music up loud. And again, if you think you're too close, move away. And Donna mentions throat singing, which is fine. Any kind of singing or chanting is very important, and I didn't get there yet. I'll get there eventually, but chanting or throat singing are all very healing and very possible to help you to be a better speaker, a better listener, better connecting to your intuition. So anyway, back to the sound meditation. So what it really is letting the music wash over you. So you want it loud, but not so loud that you're hurting your eardrums. So again, back away from the speakers if you think you're too close. And lie back and make sure, of course, that you're not disturbing anyone. And then let the sound just wash over you. Classical, no vocals, or jazz is probably best because you just want it to move through you. You don't want to necessarily process a lot of words. And again, note what comes up and try to listen to it. Stay focused, connected with the music itself, and you might find yourself falling asleep, but that's okay. Just remind yourself that you're falling asleep and try to come back to the music. And when it's done, come back and write down and record what happened as you were listening to the music. You probably want to do it for 10 or 20 minutes. Another interesting piece of news was that researchers at the Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical were noting again that music can reduce serum cholesterol in the blood, serum cortisol, not cholesterol. And a number of studies have shown, patients after surgery heal better when music's played in their room. So they require less sedation and they're in less pain. And there's other kinds of studies around Alzheimer's, and hospitals have begun to use it for healing. And Donna mentions in the chat room that plants like music too, and she plays it and sings in her garden. And one of my favorite books was by Dr. Emoto with he talks about the water and how water really can maintain our emotions. And I think it was in one of those movies, What the Bleep Do You Know, or something else, I'm not sure. One of those movies that talked about connecting with your feelings, but it showed his experiments with rice and how people yelled at one bucket or one container of rice and then talked pleasantly to another bucket and showed how the rice boiled. And I guess the same research around plants. So if you want to conduct your own experiment, you might, I don't know if this is too cruel, but just to talk well to one plant and maybe not talk at all to another plant and see how well they thrive. And you might, if you have the space, do the same thing with the rice and see how the rice maintains its integrity or not. So just to notice how powerful just your pure words can be, or your singing. And speaking of the words, we'll go back to the poetry. And one of my favorites that that talks about a lot about the shadow and how to heal from that, heal that aspect of yourselves, is The Guest House by Rumi. And if you've never heard it, I'll read it for you now. And it goes like this. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And as I mentioned before, it's really saying everything that we experience is valuable. We're not dismissing anything. Of course, that can take work, but it's about welcoming, or at least noticing all of what we experience and not discounting it or trying to avoid it or push it away. Our emotions are valid, so paying attention to them, whether it's joy or feeling sad or depressed, it's giving them the attention they need when they need them and then letting that go. It's not holding on to them for longer than needed. It's accepting and honoring them as they come, and it's really noticing where you are in the moment and noticing they all carry equal weight, so not valuing one any more than the other, even though that's a difficult process at first, and it probably a lifelong process for most people, unless you're living in the mountains. So, a really good PBS DVD that I've watched in the past is called Healing Words, Poetry and Medicine, that talks about different patients who have been, changed by how when they incorporated poetry into their recovery process. It's, I guess, about 8 years old now, because it follows, what's his name, Dr. John Graham Poll, who retired about 7 years ago, and it just really gives a peek into his work and how he brought the poetry and into the hospitals and helped people to better heal. Now, as we're coming to the end of the show, I have a few things to mention. I have a new ad up in the store section of the website, awakenradio.net, and you can go to the Awaken store and click on the Divine Connections button, and you can order a reading from me if you're interested right there. Or you can go to my website and send me an email and tell me that you're interested. Again, that's blog.simplynumbers.com, or you can follow me at Numbers by Rob on Twitter, or Awakened Rob, where I tweet mostly about the show and intuition and opening to your intuition and the various topics that I'm talking about at the next show. So I have a lot of poetry tweets and spoken word tweets up right now, but you can follow me there or join me and like my Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/AwakenedRob, and you can see more about the show and more about intuition as I post various pieces there. And again, I do sort of a recap in the forum where you can easily reply to. So it's all right here. You can come to the forum, awakenradio.net, click on the forum button and reply back to my various show posts and come to the store and order a reading from me. Now it's a little late, but if you have a quick question, you might still call in 334-649-7204 or connect to us via Skype at Awakened Radio. So no one's really ventured a guess about the next space other than one guess being Woodstock, I guess, was one guess, but that's really not very close to the space that I was thinking about. So you might think, here's a hint, if you're still thinking about it, and it involves a lot of honking sounds, a lot of traffic sounds. So again, connect with your hearing senses to intuitively connect with where we might be. And I get two guesses coming up in the chat room. One is LA, one is New York, another is Detroit. And New York is more closer to the truth. So can we narrow that down? I guess somewhere in New York is the hint that I'm giving. Can you hear Times Square? That's exactly it. I don't know if you heard anything, so you might post that in the chat room, the sounds that you heard. Again, don't be dismissive of the sounds that you hear or any kind of intuitive hits that you get. Just take note of them, and you never know how they might contribute to the ultimate guess in the end. It wasn't the dropping of the ball, it was just Times Square. So we're winding down, so I'll recap my connection details. You can come here to awakenradio.net and go to the forum button, and you can see what I've talked about on past shows and reply back to that if you have any questions regarding those shows. Or you can click on the Twitter links and Facebook links that I have in those posts. And again, that's Awakened Rob on Twitter, or Numbers by Rob on Twitter, where I tweet mostly about healing and numerology. And you can go to my Facebook at Awakened Rob or Numbers by Rob. And you can ask me any kind of questions you like there. And I hope that you have a Happy New Year. And I guess we're about to end now, so I'll talk with you next week.
Awakened Radio Network is the information station for awakened people who live awake, aware, alert, and create consciously. Join us in the live chat room at awakendradio.net/live chat room. Take part in our creation through our forums, chat, and calling in on our live shows. Check out our services tab at awakendradio.net. Right up under the banner, click where it says services. You can find out how to host your own show on our network. You can also find out about delivering your empowerment message to our global listeners. There's also information there on how to advertise on the Awakened Radio Network. Are you ready to host your show with the Awakened Radio Network? Our station is dedicated to helping you share your message with our global audience. Visit awakendradio.net, look under Service tab at the top of the page for more information, And you can also add Awakened Radio to your Skype contact and talk with Donna Devane about being an Awakened Radio